for our first induction of this inaugural class of 2024. Simply put, college gymnastics would not be what it is today without the efforts of one Gene Wettstone. Dubbed the Dean of Collegiate Gymnastics Coaches, others consider him the John Wooden of our sport. Gene Wettstone's legacy embodies unparalleled success, innovation, and dedication. During his nearly 40 seasons with Penn State, Wettstone secured 9 NCAA team championships and an impressive 13 EIGL crowns. His teams notched over 200 dual meet victories. Wettstone guided his athletes to 35 individual national titles, fostered 13 Olympians, and coached the U.S. teams at the 48 and 56 Olympic Games. Born in July of 1913 in West Hoboken, New Jersey, to Swiss immigrants, his father a butcher, his mother an embroiderer, Wettstone discovered his passion for gymnastics at a Swiss social club, later honing his skills at the University of Iowa. Standing 6 feet tall and weighing 170 pounds, he was a formidable gymnast, winning Big Ten Conference titles on pommel horse and the all-around in 35 and again as a senior in 1937. He graduated with a bachelor's and master's degrees in physical education. Joining Penn State in 1939, Wettstone began his coaching journey amidst the challenges of World War II, instructing officer candidates in physical education classes. Despite the absence of a formal gymnastics program at Penn State, Wettstone's vision and leadership were instrumental in its establishment. He was even credited for the revival of the Nittany Lion mascot in 1939. Over the next 4 decades, his visionary leadership transformed the gymnastics landscape at Penn State, driving the Nittany Lions to unprecedented successes. Renowned for his attention to detail and his ability to instill pride and excellence in his athletes, Wettstone's coaching philosophy emphasized precision, discipline, and dedication. Current coach of the Nittany Lions, Randy Jepson, said this: Gene was very much a stickler for making things clean and sharp. He would have guys come into the gym for the first few days, and he wouldn't see gymnastics. He'd want to see how they walked. He wanted to see their posture. An innovator both in the gym and in promotion, Wettstone played a pivotal role in the burgeoning popularity of college gymnastics. His meets at Rec Hall became renowned nationwide, drawing the largest crowds in the country during his tenure in Happy Valley. Overseeing 26 major events in Rec Hall, including 3 NCAA championships and 4 Olympic trials, Wettstone also organized international meets with teams from Sweden, Switzerland, Japan, and the Soviet Union. Under his guidance, Penn State ascended to collegiate gymnastics dominance, regularly attracting thousands to Rec Hall for meets and events, solidifying his reputation as an unparalleled promoter of the sport. Retiring after securing his final NCAA championship in 1976, Wettstone's enduring legacy lives through the Gene Wettstone Award. Fondly remembered, Wettstone passed away at age 100 in State College in July of 2013, leaving behind a remarkable legacy forged through his unwavering dedication to the sport he cherished. Let us all pay tribute to the career of Mr. Gene Wettstone in this video montage provided by Penn State University. Introduce the venerable Gene Wettstone into the inaugural CGA Hall of Fame class of 2024 is a man who believes in a simple path to success: honest hard work and lots of it. We heard from this gentleman earlier in the program as he delivered our invocation. With 128 All-America honors and 14 individual national champions under his mentorship, Do my eyes deceive me? This can't be right. In his 33rd season at the helm of the Nittany Lions, head coach, a man who will always be able to say that he scored a perfect 10 against the Soviets in the early 1980s. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Mr. Randy Jeffs.
Thank you, Dr. Canales. It is my distinct honor to be here today as a spokesperson on behalf of Gene Wettstone, as well as the Wettstone family, to receive and be the recipient of the inaugural class coaching award for the CGA on behalf of Gene Wettstone. Mark did a great job of summarizing the details of his career, but I'll go into a little bit more detail here as well. Michael talked about how he started from humble beginnings in Hoboken, New Jersey, and then started at a gym there. But the real story behind that was, quite honestly, Coach Wettstone started as a juvenile delinquent. Gene's introduction to gymnastics started on behalf of his father. You see, Gene was kind of finding that he was getting into a little bit of trouble, and that trouble was this. He found out that he could make some money by swimming across the East River with a friend and stealing things off the ships that were there at night. Once his dad found out, he realized, I've got to get my kid into something a little more productive. And he ushered him off into the gymnastics gym where he began his training. And shortly afterwards, he matriculated at the University of Iowa, where it was a natural fit because his uncle was the coach at the University of Iowa. He won Big Ten all-around and pommel horse and high bar titles there. And then Penn State was looking for an individual to kind of foster this new thing that they had at school, a circus, a gymnastics team, a club that they had. And they wanted to build a varsity program, and so they went to the Big Ten champion to bring in and see what he could do. And he did that and then some. Gene's credentials are really unparalleled. He coached for 36 years, 9 NCAA team titles, 4 AAU titles, which should have been also recognized, but that was prior to the NCAA starting. So in total, he had 13. 13 total titles. He had 30 individual NCAA champions. He had 13 Olympians, 3 Eastern Intercollegiate Gymnastics titles, 12 undefeated seasons. He was twice the Olympic coach. He was an Olympic manager in another year. And 2 other occasions in those Olympic years, he was a gymnastics judge. Gene had also had the good fortune to recruit and coach 4 Nissen Emery Award winners, one of which is the namesake, Bob Emery, who isn't here today, but we owe him a great gratitude as well for his efforts on the CGA's behalf. He was 20 years on the U.S. Olympic Committee representing gymnastics, 18 years on the NCAA Gymnastics Committee. Half of his years he served as an officer in the CGA, if not president, and on the NCAA Gymnastics Committee. 10 of his proteges went on to become head coaches. I, for one, am one of those legacies. Gene did not coach me, but I had the good fortune of having a coach who was coached by Gene, and that was Carl Shire. But I was a transfer to Penn State in my senior year, and Gene coached an individual named Bill Meade. Bill Meade won 4 titles as a coach at Southern Illinois University. And while he was there, he coached a man named Bill Ballister. Bill Ballister was my coach at the University of Oregon, where I went before I attended Penn State. So I've got dual imprints of the Wettstone legacy on me. And that coaching legacy is wide and far, as 10 of those individuals that he had were head coaches in the NCAA. Gene just didn't represent the CGA and the NCAA as well. He fought hard on behalf of our individual athletes who were representing the U.S. internationally and abroad. There was quite a rift that developed between the AAU and the individual sports, and it culminated in what's called the Ted Stevens Act, where those sports were pulled away from that amateur athletic union and they were then built into individual governing bodies that we have today. Gene Wettstone was a key piece in that legislation and in that effort to pull gymnastics away from the AAU and give us what we have today in USA Gymnastics. He was one of the founding fathers of USA Gymnastics. In that, he also created one of the first safety manual. He and his college roommate, George Nissen, the founder of the trampoline, got together and put together the first safety manual in light of all the litigation that was taking place because of liability. His efforts on our campus were innovative as well. In the 1960s, way back before the computer age, Gene Wettstone had individuals pull together and create the first computer software program that we used at our meets. And that was a great assistance to us. In addition, the first ever televised competitions were done from Rec Hall. Always the innovator, Gene Wettstone was leaving his mark. But I think perhaps one of the greatest things that Gene ever did, and what he's known for the most, wasn't just the gymnastics legacy that he left in terms of his service, but in how he conducted himself, and that he allowed trickle over into the competitions that he held. His gymnastics events on the Penn State campus were known as gymnastics spectaculars, and they were nothing short of that. I had the good fortune of being a part of one of those in my last competition where we met the Soviet Union, as Michael said. Gene was known for being able to get it done, and his crowds that he would train and coach and mentor and teach were well knowledgeable in gymnastics because Gene took the time to really educate the staff, the townspeople of State College, and it wasn't nothing. It was nothing unusual for people to come and lay their coats in Rec Hall during a basketball game in the afternoon to reserve their spot for the gymnastics meet later that night. And Gene had crowds 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people in Rec Hall, and that was on a regular basis. In fact, by the time I got there, Gene had been retired for several years, but we were still getting 5,000 and 6,000 people at our meets because of his efforts. He had teams, the first international teams that ever competed in the United States came to Penn State. He had teams from all over Europe, Germany, Switzerland, all through Scandinavia. They came. Teams from Russia, teams from Japan. In my final meet, we met the Soviet Union. People camped out in December, 2 nights before the competition to get tickets. And we had over 7,000 people, standing room only, to witness that. And I got to compete against the likes of Artemov and Mogilny, both world champions, and of course Artemov, Olympic champion in the all-around. He was the consummate promoter. And our athletic director that was with him at that time, Ed Chekai, said this. He said if Gene Wettstone had been born 100 years earlier, no one would have ever heard of P.T. Barnum. And that's very correct. I mean, P.T. Barnum, the Barnum and Daily Circus, was a great promoter, but he couldn't hold a candle to Gene Wettstone and what he did and what he taught in terms of the sport at Penn State. Joe Paterno, our legendary football coach, once told me this. He said, you know what? The 2 people I admire most as coaches are John Wooden and Gene Wettstone. He said, I would walk in the gym, and I'd be there at 7 to watch film upstairs, and Gene would be there with an athlete that he pulled out of gym class. And he's teaching him something on the trampoline, or maybe working with him on tunneling. He's over on the side horse. And later, a couple of years later, I'd see that this kid was an All-American or a national champion. He goes, that's what Gene could do. But it wasn't just what he did, but how he did it that made an impact on those that were around him. You see, Gene was a soft-spoken guy. And the legacy that he left amongst his counterparts, especially his athletes, was incredible. He was a gentleman, and his athletes were gentlemen. So it was very fitting that when Gene was culminating in his years and during that 100th year mark, that a number of our alumni, this is not the university, this is the Penn State Gymnastics alumni, they said, we want to honor Gene, and let's get together and do something. And they approached the university and they said, we want to do something for Coach Wettstone. Can we name the gym after him, or what can we do? They said, sure, here's the price. They put the price tag down. In 90 days, our alumni pitched in for $500,000 to honor Coach Wettstone. 90 days, and they had it in the bank. And so today, when our guys come to the gym, they get to walk into the Gene Wettstone Gymnastics Complex the area that bears his name, and they go into the locker room. We have a fund that's set aside to be able to fund our athletes to go around the world and compete, to continue that Wettstone legacy because of what he's done. We're grateful to Gene, but I gotta say today, I'm really grateful to his father, August, for having the wisdom to see that he could guide his son in a better place, that rather than swimming across that East River to get stuff off the ships, he could guide him into an area that would really benefit him. But we're grateful because it benefited all of us here today. So on behalf of Coach Wettstone and the Wettstone family, I'm grateful for this inaugural coaching award, and it couldn't go to a better man, a better representative of our sport, and a better colleague. Thank you.